College Gym Vids fan going live on YouTube. This is another full episode of Rescue 911 from August 30th, 2019 on Get TV. It's Cincinnati neonatal docu and 6-year-old hero.
Loading video, please wait.
Not like you knew what happened.
Did a great job. If it wasn't for Mike, I wouldn't have my dog.
I think I'll have this over my head for my whole career.
In options, closed captioning, button 1 of 4 of pop.
Oh, this is the
Volume
rest
27.
of Cop Saves Dog and
Volume
Gator
40.
Bolt.
It is funny when I think about it now. I ran out there and started breathing into his muzzle. I mean, a lot of people are real amazed that Cop would even do something like that. So, I guess it gives us a good name anyways, you know? Hey. Whether it's my dog or somebody else, if somebody wants to lose one, because they are that close to us and they're part of the family.
This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happen.
Shameful truth that our country has one of the worst infant mortality rates of any industrialized nation. Last year, 1 out of every 159 babies in the United States died within the first 4 weeks of life. This story is not a recreation. It's the reality of life at the University of Cincinnati's and Children's Hospital neonatal facilities for newborn babies who need critical care.
A 7-month pregnant woman is being rushed to University Hospital.
There have been babies born for millions of years before there were physicians to help in their care, and many of those babies died.
Call Peds. 333, call Peds.
The 3-pound, 2-ounce girl was 7 weeks early, but though born in an ambulance, this premature baby was lucky enough to have no major problems.
Right there.
The next night, 18-year-old Heidi Sawyer is in the advanced stages of labor, 2 months before her due date, with her mother, Kathy McCarthy, at her side.
When they said they were going to take her right then and there, I got upset.
How you doing, Heidi? Good.
Dr. Robert Jacobson must operate to save her baby.
Heidi's baby was in a breech presentation. That means the butt was first. Because the baby was premature, we would normally perform a cesarean section to prevent birth trauma.
Okay, here comes your baby. Baby's bottom is out. There you go. Right here. The doctor will tell us what it is in just a minute.
There we go.
It's a little girl, 740, okay? How you doing? Huh? Now, they may be giving her oxygen. You may not hear her cry right away, okay?
She was pretty blue and actually pretty limp.
Little girl.
baby is a baby that's breathing, and that's always a real welcome sign.
Do you have a name for her? What is it?
Destiny Renee.
Destiny Renee. Very pretty.
Premature babies will often do well for the first few minutes or so and then develop more respiratory distress. You know that their lungs aren't meant to work.
I'm giving you some medicine.
It was really hard because I wanted to hold her. I wanted her close to me.
Now, the pediatricians are going to take her to the nursery.
I didn't know what to think, if she was okay or not.
Because Destiny's lungs are not completely formed yet, as with most preemies, the risk of infection is great. When we continue,
you just want to do your best because here is someone's child and they need you, and you want to do everything that you can and that you've been trained to do.
hospital neonatal transport team is being sent to a nearby hospital to pick up a newborn baby who's critically ill.
In options, press left or right on the directional pad to change the
You just
setting.
want to do your best because here is someone's child and they need you, and you want to do everything that you can and that you've been trained to do to save your life. We arrived to find a very sick infant. It was a widespread systemic infection.
Before the baby is transported, Dr. Maria Cruz has to explain the one-day-old boy's situation to his parents, Robert and Karen Hirth.
You never imagine it happening to you. You could tell on their faces that it was bad. I mean, you can tell by the way they were working on him that this baby was, I mean, who knows if it was going to live or not. It's so painful because you can see the parents who love their baby so much suffer through everything.
When we moved him over the isolate, he was like a limp rag. There was no fight to him. He wouldn't flinch. She was going downhill very fast. He definitely needed extreme critical care. I was afraid that, he might arrest and route back.
Ready?
It was a pretty smooth turnover, getting him into his own bed.
You have to find out what kind of infection the baby is suffering from so that you know what kind of medication to give to this baby. It's most probably group B streptococcus, and so we start giving the antibiotics, but the antibiotics still take time to work.
The baby's father, Robert, has driven over immediately to be close to his son.
Is it a name yet? You don't know. That's great. Is this your first?
Yeah. Oh, congratulations. Well, you're going through a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always a hope, and that's what keeps most parents going.
That same night, another critically ill newborn is transferred to the neonatal unit of Children's Hospital. The baby had been born unable to breathe on his own.
This child was born with a defect in his diaphragm.
Surgeon Victor Garcia takes over the care of the infant Cody Bullock.
When you have a defect there, those organs that are normally in the abdomen can find their way up into the chest, and it interferes with the development of the lung. One has to do an emergency procedure, otherwise that child will suffer a premature death.
Cody's father, Jason, is allowed to see his baby just before he's taken into surgery.
I was thinking that this can't be happening.
oh, geez, is he gonna live? You know, how's he gonna be if he does make it? You know, what's really wrong with him? The thoughts are running wild through your head.
You're dealing with tissues that are extraordinarily fragile. You're dealing with infants who are very delicate, and the threshold between a good result and a bad result is a very low one.
Here we are. It's a big defect, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to just very delicately free this up, okay? Very gently now, so we don't tear that liver. That's where the hole was. Now it's all closed up. So this is just the beginning. Even though we fixed this part, it's still yet to be determined whether the lungs are developed enough so that the baby will be able to breathe on his own. So even though he looks okay now, we have yet to see.
2 days after her birth, 18-year-old Heidi Sawyer's premature baby is doing much better, but must remain in intensive care.
When I go to sleep, I think about her. I think about how her life will be when she comes home. And I want it to happen now instead of waiting. I want to get her home. I just hope that she lives a normal life. I love her. I know when I get her home, I won't put her down.
1 week after his birth, Jonathan Hirth is still battling his Group B streptococcus infection. His parents refuse to give up hope.
You gonna start breathing, huh? You gonna start? You gonna try, huh? You gonna try? The doctors or the nurses says he can hear you and feel you, so we just sit there and talk to him all day and play with him all day and just make sure that he knows that we're there. Yeah, I see that eye moving. Come on, baby.
Just let him know we're there and we care for him, and hopefully he'll respond a lot better. Know that he's got some loving parents waiting for him to come through.
The next day, Dr. Jonathan Luspe gives Karen an update on her son, Jonathan. What they had feared most has happened.
Group B, streptococcus. It's an infection that starts in the lungs, goes to the blood, and frequently goes to the brain, and that's what it has done in this baby.
The meningitis is what people admit, basically. Yeah, you know, babies who get Group B strep meningitis, which is the infection he's got, probably half of them have some permanent consequences from it.
Down the hall, Angela and Jason Bullock look in on their 8-day-old son, Cody, who's slowly recovering from the surgery to repair his diaphragm.
It reassures you when you go in and you see him and he wakes up or something, or he cries or anything. You just know each little thing. Cute. That's cute.
One month after Jonathan Hirth was born, Karen and Robert's son died as a result of the severe brain damage he had suffered.
You prepare for 9 months to have a baby, you want to bring it home, and then something like it happens, and you know it's not going to last. You take every little moment and cherish as much as you can, because you know that's all you're going to have to last your lifetime.
Group B streptococcus is a common bacteria which many mothers-to-be carry without any problems. But like Jonathan, babies can catch it during the birth and suffer complications.
When you hear strep, you think of strep throat. No one's really heard of Group B strep. It's just a simple urine test to be tested for Group B strep. We want to let the mothers and fathers know about the disease so they can ask their doctor about it.
We had a son and he was taken away from us. The pain gets easier as time goes on, but it's still there.
He was my first. He will always be my first. The other kids that we will have, they will know that they have a little angel up in heaven. I'll never forget him.
A few days after her original due date, Destiny Renee Sawyer finally went home. Although she was born 7 weeks premature, she's now a healthy baby girl.
They took good care of Destiny. She's just a joy. I'm glad to have her home.
Watching her grow up makes me happy. She does a lot of things that'll amaze a person.
weeks after his surgery, Cody Bullock was finally allowed to go home. But complications set in, and within a week, he was back in the hospital.
It was probably the most frustrating time. Because when you get home, you expect to keep him there, and I didn't expect to have to bring him back again so soon. He's got so much personality and so much charm. He's just so funny.
He's a little trooper, and he makes me real proud. And he is a beautiful baby boy.
I just want him to be okay and as close to normal as they can get him, but I'll take him whichever way they get him. I don't mind.
Next.
When I look back and I seen her slump over, I said, oh my God, if she didn't get the truck stopped, there might have been no hope.
3 best.
On the afternoon of July 9th, 1991, in Evansville, Indiana.
In options, press left. Audio by disabled.
To meet her mother, Tanya Deffendahl.
When I walked up to my daughter, I could tell something was wrong. She said someone hit me in the back end, and I think I may have a whiplash or something because the back of my neck is hurting really bad.
Also riding in Lori's pickup that day were her 3-year-old son and 6-year-old son, Dustin.
We kept on telling her to put her seatbelt on, but she said, no, there's nothing going to happen.
Lori never did like to wear a seatbelt. She always made the boys wear one, but she is a little bit uncomfortable with a seatbelt.
Despite a headache and the pain in her neck, Lori insisted she was all right to make the 15-minute drive to her mother's house to rest.
Oh, you okay?
She motioned for me to come up there, so I pulled up beside her.
What's wrong? Let me go inside, I can get him out.
I couldn't see anything wrong. I think she knew at the time she was getting sick, but she didn't want to scare me.
Get up.
When I look back and I seen her slump over, I said, oh my God, if she didn't get the truck stopped in time, there might have been no hope for all 3 of them.
When she fell over, I had tears going down my eye because I thought my mommy was dying. And I knew if I didn't stop the truck, we would be in a real bad accident.
Lori, what's wrong? Dustin was clutched on the floor, holding the brake in.
The truck is stopped.
She was out, and I started crying. I says, Lori, please wake up, honey. Wake up, Mama's here. I couldn't get any response. By that time, I was really getting panicked because her lips were turning blue, her hands had turned blue, and her eyes were rolling up in her head. When you see something like that, I mean, you know you're losing your daughter. 2 guys did come by.
There was my daughter. I don't know what, if she's had a heart attack or what. Let's get help. Honey, we got help coming. Okay, we got help coming.
The men drove to the nearest house where Gene Gillis lived.
Yeah, we're going to do.
This man told me to call 911. There was a lady across the highway he thought was having a heart attack.
The nearest available ambulance was returning from a call more than 20 miles away.
Past Posey County line.
Report on the road, county line, highway 66.
Gene Gillis drove to the scene to see if he could help.
When I drove up, there was 2 little kids standing at the side of the truck. They were scared and they were crying.
Hey, what's happening?
I
The older woman was very upset, so I told her to gather up the kids and get them off to the side of the highway. So I just held her in the same position and tried to hold her still then.
All right. I'm trying to keep your head still.
It seemed like a lifetime. I just kept looking down the highway and waiting to hear a siren. I was so happy to see her when they got there.
Within 12 minutes of the call, paramedic Steve Hoflinger and his partner arrived on the scene.
Anytime you have a patient in an auto accident complaining of neck pain, you have to be extremely careful because one wrong move and you paralyze the patient for life.
Lori was hospitalized with whiplash and a concussion and later released. Everyone at the scene was surprised to learn that it was Dustin who had stopped the truck.
I had 5 children of my own, and they're all very smart kids, but I just never ran into a 6-year-old child that could do that before. He really did a good job.
Oh, now
6-year-old
he's
Dustin
driving a
Selma's whole
go-kart.
family is grateful for what he did that
Now
day.
Dustin's driving a go-kart.
He will always be a hero.
When I first realized and heard everything that Dusty had done, I thought this kid's really level-headed. We might not be here today if he hadn't been so quick and so fast, and he's just a smart boy. I'm proud.
I love go-karts. I used to have a go-kart. I had a thunder cart.
The moral of the story is always wear your seatbelt. If you're in an accident, stop, get help. Don't keep driving, because, you might not have that second chance.
What's K for? That's Mommy's favorite word. What's K? No, what starts with the K that word?
I'm glad that my mommy's okay because I love my mommy.
Okay, you want to give Mommy another kiss? Because you love me?
Hit the big red button and subscribe. Peace out, YouTube.